Good morning, YouTube. What's up? So today is September 7th, 2017, and it is 45 friggin' degrees out in Detroit, Michigan. The weather's been like this since probably, I would say, at least the 20th of August, but really since about August 1st, it's been really cool here. It hasn't been, it's been about 80 degrees, maybe. It's been very cool. Yet, we're just constantly bombarded with global warming. Global warming! The Earth is the polar bears. Everything's gonna die! So, I want you guys to, if you have the time, take a listen to this guy that I'm going to put on here, because I feel like this whole global warming thing, are we supposed to go against our natural human instincts? Because I don't see the whole global warming thing. I don't see it. I'll tell you what, back in 2002, 2003, I was in Florida all summer, in northern Florida, Jacksonville, and April of that year it was 110 degrees out, and it hasn't been near that in the last 10 years. You know, so I don't know. I don't get the whole global warming thing. If you guys will give my guy a listen, and then maybe let me know what you think in the comments section about this whole global warming thing. Have a good day, everybody.
Borders, language, and culture. This is Michael Savage of the Savage Nation. Joining us momentarily will be Vice President Pence to discuss a number of issues, primarily leaving that disastrous anti-American Paris Accord. Welcome to the program. Before we begin, I want to make a few statements. After the Vice President appears, I'm going to read you some science on the issue. I will not quote Leon DiCaprio, since I don't think he graduated high school. I will not quote Al Gore, who has no degrees whatsoever in any science, nor any of the other comedians or commentators who know nothing about science. I will actually quote the science related to this issue, which led me to the conclusions I have led myself to, or been led to, by reading the evidence, not the hyperbole. And I have to remind you of something, if you don't mind. If you call it boasting, I can't help it. Sometimes boasting is necessary in a sea of lies. Let me boast for a minute. I am the only member of the American media with a doctorate from a great university in a great science. I am the only one who knows science. The others don't. They read articles. They don't even read the original articles. I do. Now, I'm not a climatologist. That is true. But it doesn't matter. What I do know how to do is read scientific papers and interpret them. That's more than anybody else in the media. Nobody on any channel, on any radio show, anywhere, can match that. And I'm saying it for a reason. The reason is because when I read to you today how real science works, and how global warming and global cooling are natural, and about the inconvenient research of the Vostok ice core samples, and ask you where's the warming, and then show you the junk journalism for junk science, I will lead you to make your own conclusions before you listen to the hysterics in the media who know nothing, not only about science nor about climatology, but about anything. When you read the statements that these idiots are making, and I can list one after the other, we are living in a world of no reason whatsoever. What it is and what you're seeing is rumor based upon lies, which is based upon rumor and based upon more lies. It's the same thing with the Russian hacking scandal. The same exact thing. What we have here is not only fake science, it's gossip based upon false assertions. With you for a few minutes about some of the science involved in the hysteria called global warming and the Paris Accords. I am not an actor. I'm a talk show host, but I happen to have a bachelor's degree in biology, 2 master's degrees, one in ethnobotany and one in anthropology, respectively, 2, by the way, and a true PhD in nutritional ethnomedicine from the University of California at Berkeley, and that was published in its entirety for those of you in the sciences. Laugh if you will, but in order to earn these degrees, I had to not only collect and analyze data, but draw scientifically valid conclusions that other scientists concurred with. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? That's what the scientific process is about. I had to follow these principles to earn my doctorate. But it doesn't take an advanced degree to understand them. They're common sense. When the government takes over science, however, common sense goes out the window. It happened in the Soviet Union with Lysenko, who was a hack posing as a scientist for Stalin, who wanted to impose his views of genetics on the people. But let's go down to brass tacks here. You keep hearing the debate is over. Obama said that 100 times, didn't he? Haven't you heard that mantra, the debate is over, all scientists agree? Then it was 98% of scientists agree. Well, that unto itself should caution you to the veracity of that statement. Because real scientists never say the debate is over about any subject. All scientific knowledge is open to challenge at all times. That's how all great advances have been made. Can you imagine if the debate had been over when Isaac Newton had published his theories, meaning Albert Einstein never published his? Can you imagine if the debate had been over when scientists concluded that man could not fly? Now, a lot of this hysteria is based upon publications of the IPCC. You may have heard about that over the years. I'm not going to bore you with it. Incidentally, all of this is in my previous best-selling book, Government Zero. I mean, I know many of you bought it. I know how many sold. So it's widely respected out there. There's a great chapter called Zero Science. So the issue is, what do you actually believe and what do you know? I don't care what you believe. It's what you know, not what you believe. Most of you believe that the world is coming to an end because because Trump pulled us out of the Paris Accord. You understand what I'm saying to you? But it's not true. One of the people you should look at in this subject is the man who's recognized as the father of modern climatology. His name is Dr. Reed A. Bryson, and I'm going to read you what he wrote about. Just put this in your cap for a minute. Mean surface temperature on this planet during the Cretaceous period was 4 degrees higher than it is now. Do you understand what I just said to you? You may, unless you went to Evergreen State College, or perhaps NYU.
Join the Savage.
Welcome back to the Savage Nation. So, you know, I'm like a good teacher, okay? I keep you entertained. I tell jokes, recipes. I eat on the air. But once in a while, I have to get back to the subject matter at hand. Right now, there's a serious subject. With all the hysteria and propaganda out there, I need to set the record straight with some of the real scientists that you're not hearing. Now, before I give you a little of the work that you have to do, it's not hard. It's going to be easy. I'll make it easy for you. I have to play some of the insanity that's out there. Perhaps the greatest hysteric of them all is Governor Moonbeam of California, predicting that people will die and the earth is coming to an end. You got to hear this one. Listen to why they call him Moonbeam.
Well, the immediate reaction is this is a crazy decision. It's against the facts. It's against science. It's against reality itself. We know we have to decarbonize our future. If we don't, it's a horror. People are going to die. Habitat will be destroyed. Seas will rise. Insects will spread in areas they've never been before. This is not a game. It's not politics to talk to your base. It's humanity and whether it makes it through the 21st century.
Oh, oy vey, Jerry, see a therapist. Jerry, let me give you some real science, please, something that no one tells you up there in Sacramento. Are you ready? Please, Jerry, listen. Are you ready? Neither temperatures nor carbon dioxide levels are anywhere near their peak over Earth's history. Jerry and all the other hysterics, during the Cretaceous period, approximately 145 to 66 million years ago, long before there was a Democrat socialist machine, mean atmospheric CO2 content was about 1,700 parts per million. Okay? What does that mean? That's 6 times what it was just before the Industrial Revolution. Did you hear me, Jerry? So, in that period, 66 million years ago, CO2 content 1,700 parts per million. In October 2014, it was about 400 parts per million. Magnitudes of order lower than during the Cretaceous period. Lower. So this is hysteria. But what about mean surface temperature? We hear about warming and the ice is melting and island nations are going to disappear. Mean surface temperatures during the Cretaceous period was 18 degrees centigrade, which is 4 degrees higher, temperatures higher than it is now. But what happened during this period of significantly higher atmospheric carbon dioxide and temperature levels? Life flourished. Dinosaurs continued to dominate the land. But new groups of mammals, birds, and flowering plants appeared. That's not a big surprise, folks. Contrary to what fake, hysterical drug scientists tell you, higher CO2 levels are good for plants and warmer temperatures are good for life in general. As I've said before, you don't have to go back millions of years to find much warmer temperatures than anything we've seen during the industrial age. Temperatures were warmer and ice sheets smaller during the medieval warm period just 1,000 years ago. Dr. Reed Bryson, who is universally recognized as the father of modern climatology, confirms that even today the ice in Greenland covers old Viking farms. Did you catch that fact? Now, you didn't want to hear it? Your mind shut down already? You bought the Kool-Aid? The ice in Greenland today covers old Viking farms. Today. Now, no one disputes that Dr. Bryson is a real scientist, not even the climate change hucksters. But do you know what he says about hysterical cries that glaciers in the Alps are receding? He says it all happened before. What did they find when the ice sheets retreat in the Alps? What did they find when the ice sheets retreat up there? A silver mine. The guys had stacked up their tools because they were going to be back the next spring to mine more silver. Only the snow never went. There used to be less ice than snow. There used to be less ice than now. It's just getting back to normal. Now, he's a real climate scientist, the father of the whole discipline, and he doesn't believe the climate change scam at all. And he's not alone among real scientists, Jerry. There are actually 31,000 scientists who have signed the following petition to formally register their dissent to this politically motivated hoax, and it's in Government Zero. You hear? So for tens of thousands of scientists, but not for the politicians and Hollywood drug addicts, the debate is not over. For real scientists, it never is. That means the IPCC scientists' work hasn't passed peer review at all. The IPCC simply smears or ignores any scientist who doesn't concur. So now I'm going to move on to something that you may be able to take home with you on this Friday that you want to be unfocused. I don't blame you. But we're living through such lies and propaganda that I have to give you this. I keep quoting the Vostok ice core samples. You've heard me talk about it, right? It's real data. It's not created by Al Gore. It's not created for the Pope. It was not created for Leon DiCaprio. What is it? It was obtained by drilling down into the ice above Lake Vostok in Antarctica to a depth of 10,000 feet. That's about, what, 10,000 feet? How many feet to a mile? 5,000 roughly? Yeah. So they went down into the earth 2 miles, into the Antarctic ice shelf 2 miles. French and Russian scientists, Russian. French and Russian scientists obtained deep core samples of the ice, allowing them to look at, among other things, the history of temperature and carbon dioxide over the past 420,000 years, Jerry. Now, unless you went to Evergreen State College or NYU, guess what they found? The samples did show that increases in carbon dioxide always accompanied increases in temperature. But here it is. The increases in temperature always come first. What does that mean? The increases in CO2 consistently lagged behind temperature increases by about 800 years. What does that prove? It proves that increased levels of CO2 in the atmosphere didn't cause warming. How could it have if it didn't happen until after the warming? I try to explain this to Larry, what's his name, the guy who used to have who has a bagel shop in L.A., Larry King, another scientist from Brooklyn. Another scientist who said to me, so Michael Savage doesn't believe in global warming, but all the scientists in the world do, huh? Oh, Larry, go have a schmear, would you? Because that's all you know is a schmear on a bagel and a big voice, Larry. You don't know anything. You don't know Jack from Jack Cheese. I try to explain to Larry King that CO2 followed after the warming. He didn't understand that because the big lie today is that the CO2 emissions are causing warming. Okay, so that's not all that the Vostok ice core samples tell us. As Joe Martino reports, 325,000 years ago, long before Jerry Brown was a glint in his ancestors' eyes, global temps and CO2 levels were higher than they are today. That's long before the Corleone crime syndicate originated. I guess Barack Obama didn't get any of this when he was at Columbia University learning how to become a community agitator. In fact, right now we are near the end of another warm interglacial. And those of us who are educated in science know we're actually heading into another glacial cooling period where global temperatures will drop and ice will again form heavily at the poles. It's already happening. Did you know that? Forget the polar bear picture. The Antarctic has just had the greatest growth of ice in a very long period of time. Don't take my word for it. Research it for yourself. Where's the warming, I ask? Well, let me tell you something. This is junk journalism and junk science that you're reading and hearing, and the politicians are making a fortune off it. They're shilling for the companies that have made billions and billions of dollars. And I have the list somewhere if I could only put my hand on it. I prepared very well for the show today. And I have the list right here in my hand for you to listen to so you know follow the money. Paying more taxes in the Paris Accords so that the evil criminals in the government can spend trillions of dollars to try to fix a problem that probably doesn't even exist is not the answer. All it is a scam to rob you of your money. And of course, to, again, weaken America. That's clearly what it was. I have no reason to believe that the government was spending hundreds of billions of dollars, but I do have reason to believe that it would stop global warming from occurring, even if you do believe in it. So let me give you an example why. We've all heard about Solyndra. Remember that? Incidentally, you're talking about the scandals of Comey. Do you remember Solyndra? It was a solar company that went bankrupt at the beginning of Obama's reign of terror, and they stuck us with a bill of about, I have it right here somewhere, $400 million or something. I don't have an exact figure here. Solyndra went bust, and they had gotten $535 million in tax money. Then they declared bankruptcy. Do you remember what happened right after they did so? The FBI went in to seize all their records. Remember I said, oh, that's great. Oh, good, we'll find out who the crooks are. And I said, wait a minute, no, that's not great. Because the FBI went in to make sure we don't find out who the crooks are. That's when who was the head of the FBI? Look into it. Look into it and see who the head of the FBI was who seized the Solyndra records and find out why we never heard who stole the $535 million. But they're not alone. Would you like to see a list of all enterprises that have gone bankrupt with U.S. tax money? All in the false hope of fighting global warming? Bright Source, $1.6 billion. And by the way, trace their board of directors to Congress, and you'll find some astounding interlocking elements there. First Solar, $1.46 billion. SunPower, $1.2 billion. Solyndra, $535 million. Fisker Automotive, $529 million. Abound Solar took out $400 million. A123 Systems took down $279 million. Babcock & Brown took down $178 million. I'm reading you a list of companies that have gone bankrupt after stealing tax money under the guise of fighting global warming. Nobody has gone to prison. Not a dollar has been returned. This is bigger than Bernie Madoff. What I'm telling you right now is this. The global warming scam is bigger than what Madoff took down from his investors. Range Fuels, $156 million. Compact Power, $151 million. Eco Totality, $126 million. Ener One, $118 million. Mascoma Corp, $100 million. Nevada Geothermal, $98 million. Vestas, $50 million. Beacon Power, $43 million. Navistar, $39 million. Razor Technologies, $33 million. Evergreen Solar, $25 million. Canarca Tech, $20 million. Nordic Wind Power, $16 million. Energy Conversion Devices, $13.3 million. Unisolar, $13.3 million. Olson's Crop Service and Olson's Mills Acquisition Company, $10 million. Sterling Energy Systems, $7 million. Thompson River Power, $6.5 million. Azure Dynamics, $5 million. Satcon, $3 million. Mountain Plaza Inc., $2 million. I can go on and on. But none of them have been investigated or gone to prison. That's all you got to know. And now you know why the screams are so loud. Because they wanted billions and trillions more from you, the dumb deplorables, the taxpayer.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now.
Back with you. Now, look, you all know my passion for living a healthy. Now, in this hour, I've spoken with VP Pence on the issue of Paris Accords. I've tried to give you some of the real science. And I have to remind you again, because if I don't, who will? You know that I'm hated by everyone in the media. You know I'm banned by Fox News. Forget all the others. I am the only member of the American major media with a degree of this level. And therefore, what I do say to you has some weight. I am not a politician. I am not Randy Cooper. I'm not Randy Blooper, who does a duet with Kathy Isis Griffin. I'm glad to see Drudge use my statement, Kathy Isis Griffin, on the top of the page. Thanks, Matt. We'll talk about that later. I've read for you some of the real science. I've read for you some of the enterprises that have gone bankrupt with U.S. tax money in the hope of fighting global warming. None of them have gone to jail. You all heard of Solyndra. $420-some-odd million stolen from the taxpayer. The FBI seized their records, and we've never heard anything since. By the way, Mr. Trump, I hope this message gets to you. I don't know who the FBI director was. Robert, can you look that up during the Solyndra scandal? Because if it was our good friend, what was his name, the FBI director, the guy in the spotlight right now who Trump fired? I don't even remember his name anymore. It just shows you. What's his name? No one knows. Comey. Was Comey the head of the FBI during the Solyndra scandal? We'll check in a minute. If he was, that's a very interesting fact. Phone number is 855-407-2882. When I come back, we'll play some of the other hysterics on quitting the climate deal. Pelosi thinks it was racist to quit. I'm surprised they didn't work that in right up front. Let's hear number 3 to listen to the cuckoo clock on this issue.
It's a health issue. It's a national security issue. It's an economic security issue. It's a personal security issue. Families' health is affected by this. This agreement creates safeguards that reduce the pollution that sickens and
shut
kills
up.
tens of
Just shut up. Just shut up. Get her out of there already. How many years do we have to put up with these crazy people? Just trace the connections between people in Congress and solar companies that produce nothing, and you'll understand the hue and cry.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now. 85.
There are 31,000 legitimate scientists who have signed the following petition to formally register their dissent to the Paris Accords, and I'll read what they signed. We urge the United States government to reject the global warming agreement that was written in Kyoto, Japan. This was way back at the Kyoto thing in December of 1997, and any other similar proposals. The proposed limits on greenhouse gases would harm the environment, hinder the advance of science and technology, and damage the health and welfare of mankind. Remember now, these are not actors. This is not Cher. This is not Leon. This is not Don. This is not John. This is not Mark. This is not Michael. 31,000 scientists who say there is no convincing scientific evidence that human release of carbon dioxide, methane, or other greenhouse gases is causing, or will in the foreseeable future, cause catastrophic heating of the Earth's atmosphere and disruption of the Earth's climate. Moreover, there is substantial scientific evidence that increases in atmospheric carbon dioxide produce many beneficial effects upon the natural plant and animal environments of the Earth. So these are 31,000 who have signed it. But you can't get this message across to Hollywood. That's why they're actors. They don't even know what research means. They have no idea. It's the cause célèbre of all of the jet set. And where's the warming? There is none. It's the biggest science scandal ever. And I've given you some evidence, historical evidence, prehistorical evidence. Apparently no one heard it. No one heard it. I try to help you. I've looked back at data going back tens of thousands of years through the scientific evidence, but you didn't want to hear it. You're so locked into your doxies of hatred for Trump and hatred for things rational that you keep hammering the same big lie. And, you know, I'll go back to another saying. A man wrote me and said, hell is a place where there is no reason. I'm not going to be dragged into hell by fools who call up and say, well, I don't care what you said. We should have stayed in the agreement. I don't take such calls. Students like you were usually asked to leave my classroom and sent to a reform school. I can't help you. You don't have to go back millions of years to find much warmer temperatures than anything we've seen during the industrial age. Temperatures were warmer and ice sheets smaller during the medieval warm period 1,000 years ago. Even today, the ice in Greenland covers old Viking farms. Try to tell that to the hucksters. You can't do it. Did you hear what I just said? Even today, the ice that covers Greenland covers old Viking farms. That means the ice sheet is larger than it was in Viking times. Do you understand that? How can I explain anything better to you than what I'm giving you? During the Cretaceous period, long before the Academy Awards, during the Cretaceous period, which existed 145 to 66 million years ago, mean atmospheric CO2 content was about 1,700 parts per million, 6 times what it was just before the Industrial Revolution. In October 2014, it was 400 parts per million. Still orders of magnitude lower than during the Cretaceous period. So the CO2 levels are lower now than they were during this period of 66 to 145 million years ago. This is not to argue I want a dirtier earth and polluted atmospheres and polluted waters. I've spent my entire life working on environmental issues. I give significant money to protect animals. For example, if all these Hollywood lying idiot fools would spend 1 minute talking about the little girls who were blown up by the Muslim fanatics, or the extinction of the African elephant, instead of this crap, after running to an Italian restaurant there in Brentwood and showing off their latest slut that they dug up from the gutters. But maybe you believe a word that they said. But I'm not going to sit here screaming. Again, I'll go back to the evidence. Drilling down into the ice above Lake Vostok ice core samples. 10,000 feet into the ice, 2 miles. French and Russian scientists dug up deep core samples of ice, and they looked at other things, including the history of temperature and carbon dioxide over the past 420,000 years, long before the Academy Awards. And what did they find? The samples showed that increases in carbon dioxide always accompanied increases in temperature. But here's the punchline. I know if you went to the High School of Performing Arts, you cannot follow the rest of the sentence. The increases in temperature always came first, which means that when temperature increases, carbon dioxide increases, right? No. It means the increases in carbon dioxide consistently lag behind temperature increases by about 800 years, Jerry Brown. And this proves, Jerry, that increased levels of CO2 in the atmosphere did not cause warming. How could it have, Jerry, if it didn't happen until after the warming? This knocks over the entire house of cards. Those of us who were educated in science and know how to read data know otherwise. And I will not read any more to you. You can pick up your copy of Government Zero. It's sold near 200,000 copies in hardcover, which means probably 400,000 people have read it. And it's in that chapter, Zero Science. Just because we're living through an age of propaganda and fake news does not mean we have to live through fake science. It's as simple as that. I've tried to tell you how real science works. I have real training in science, I'm proud to say. I'm not a practicing scientist, but I learned real science. bachelor's in biology, 2 master's degrees in ethnobotany and anthropology. By the way, one of my master's degrees was published in its entirety as a paper in a publication, a journal, a scientific journal put out by Harvard University. And then I got a PhD in nutritional ethnomedicine from the University of California at Berkeley, which was then published as a book by the United Nations. Did you know any of that? Oh, laugh at the degree if you want. Say I know nothing about science. You'd be wrong. See, I had to collect and analyze data, and I had to draw scientifically valid conclusions that other scientists concurred with, so I understand the scientific process. No true scientist says all the science is in. How many times do I have to say the same thing to you? It's the mark of fraudsters to say all the science is in. That's a politician's statement. And that's why I call liberalism a mental disorder. It's part of the mental disorder to be stupid and delusional. And unless you can understand what the scientific method is, you can't understand anything. So that's all I want to say to you. I mean, you want to talk more about zero science, we can do that. I could talk about Lysenkoism then and now. It's actually one of the best chapters I ever wrote in my whole life in all my books in Government Zero, called Zero Science. You know, in the Soviet Union under Stalin, did you know that people were forbidden to believe that genes exist? Just like people in today's America are forbidden to believe that man-made climate change doesn't exist. You see, Marxists have to stamp out the truth, or no one would tolerate their rule. And that's why Stalin needed a fake scientist to push Lysenkoism in the USSR. And that is why Obama and his fakesters needed fake scientists to push global warming into the USS of A. Read all about it, if you still read. I don't know if you read. Maybe you went to Evergreen State University or perhaps Harvard. But no, all the science is not in.